Thanks once again for dropping by the channel. If you like the content, if you're new to the channel, please hit subscribe, share the video if you enjoyed it, if you felt it was useful. Now let's get into this. So, Daniel Dubois stops, I think it's Ricardo Snijders, is that how you pronounce his name? In 2 rounds, one-sided rounds. Yeah, you know, what do I say about this fight? Not much. Originally, Eric Pfeiffer was the opponent. I think it was last week they announced that it'd be this guy, Snijders, and something to do with medicals, I think Frank Warren said. And, there was a lot of, hearsay about those medicals, because apparently Frank Warren was saying that, allegedly anyway, that there was an issue with their medicals, and then Team Pfeiffer were saying, no, there was no issue with the medicals. So, make it out what you will. I don't actually know. It would have been nice to see him in the ring tonight, because I definitely think that this fight, even though I think Daniel Dubois would have won this fight, regardless who the opponent was, whether it was, Pfeiffer or who else, he would have won. I think that Pfeiffer would have been more game than this Snijders guy. I think Pfeiffer would have been a lot more tricky. And even though Pfeiffer even though Pfeiffer has been down in fights, has shown a little bit of vulnerability, I think he would have been more durable than this guy. I mean, this guy, to be fair, Snijders was never dropped with a headshot. It was body. He was down 4 times in this fight. Now, the first knockdown came towards the end of the first round. It was actually a very good body shot. Dubois set it up with a jab, right hand, and then came around and threw the left hook to the body. It was a good body shot. It did put Snijders down, put him down for, I think, count of 6. He got back up, and then there was 2 more knockdowns in the first round, and to me, they didn't look like genuine knockdowns. They looked more like Dubois fumbling them to the ground, but the referee called them knockdowns anyway, and he just got through with the count on the second knockdown as the bell went. So obviously he just gave Snijders the benefit of the doubt, sent him back to his corner for the minute's rest. Snijders came out in the second round again. He was overwhelmed by Dubois. Dubois just went hell for leather and just put him down with more body shots in the second round, and the referee then waved it off after that. It wasn't great, in terms of level of opposition. We've seen Dubois over this is his 3rd fight in a row now where he's fought really, really poor opposition. Considering he's coming off the back of some wins over, Nathan Gorman and stuff like that, I know this is just a stay busy fight, but I definitely think Pfeiffer would have been a more sturdy test for Dubois than this guy. This guy really is a blown up cruiserweight, it has to be said. You could see the size difference straight away when the first bell went. I don't think Dubois got hit with a shot in this fight. Seriously, he started off with his jab early on. His jab was very good, Daniel Dubois, and he was really just using the jab. He was looking, his time with the right hand, he looked a bit off with the timing, but then he was going to the body, which is something, to be fair, you don't see a lot of heavyweights, especially a lot of big heavyweights like Daniel Dubois, who are noted punchers. You don't see a lot of them go to the body very often. Daniel Dubois was going to the body very well, and obviously, as I said, he wasn't in there with much, so he had an easy time with it. As I said, he didn't have much coming back, but we're talking Dubois' last 3 opponents. Ebenezer Tete, I think he's a blown up cruiserweight too. That Fujimoto guy he fought before Christmas, that was just painful. And now this guy, Snijders, not great, it has to be said, for his last 3 fights. Obviously they just wanted to get the ring rust off, him and Joe Joyce, but that fight happened in October. Up in the air at this stage. Eddie Hearn can put, and I know I'm going about Eddie Hearn, but Eddie Hearn can put pay-per-view shows on like Povetkin and White last week in his backyard and can still make some money on that. Frank Warren, for this fight, Dubois Joyce, he needs a crowd. And I think if they're allowed limited crowds in the O2 for that fight, I still don't think Frank Warren will put that show on. I think that Frank Warren needs a live gate. He needs a proper gate for that fight to be, make any decent money from that fight. So, to be honest with you people, as much as I'd love to see Dubois Joyce next, I'm not overly optimistic that the end of October is enough time for, the governments to do a 180 and let full attendances back yet. I just don't see it. Now, Frank Warren could decide to put it on anyway, which would be great for us, because I really want to see that fight. I'm very curious to see how Dubois looks against Joyce. I'm very curious to see how Joyce looks against Dubois. I think it's a great fight. I'm so annoyed we didn't see this in April, because I was looking forward to this fight. I'm still looking forward to this fight. I think it's a great fight, but I don't want to see it get pushed back, and that's what I have a fear of. I think it will get pushed back, and like I said, I don't want that. I'd rather see. I don't mind seeing this behind closed doors, but I'm not unrealistic, and I know that these fighters need to be paid, these shows need to make a profit, and there's no use putting the fight on behind closed doors if you're going to take an absolute, shellacking in terms of how much you're going to gain from this fight, financially anyway, for everyone involved, promoters, everyone, when you could just reschedule it for next year when you could make double that money. So I'm not unrealistic in that sense. So I know something like that could likely happen. We may very well see this April next year, what it was meant to be April this year. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the Dubois-Joyce situation. Like I said, this fight was a nothing fight really. Dubois just went in there, steamrolled the guy who shouldn't have been in the ring with him. As I said, I would have preferred the Eric Pfeiffer fight personally. Although I think Dubois would have won it, I don't think he would have won it as quickly and as dominantly. Well, maybe as dominantly, but I don't think he would have won it as quickly. I think Pfeiffer could have given him some problems in there. But, that fight's gone. We're likely to get, unless they do move Joyce and Dubois back, in which case they might decide to slap Joe Joyce in another fight. They might decide to put Daniel Dubois in with Eric Pfeiffer then, just to keep them both active. That's the only scenario I can see those two getting at it. So yeah, those are my thoughts on this. Like I said, clockwork performance with Daniel Dubois. Wasn't in there with much. So assess this performance realistically. You can only assess it based on who he was in there with. If he'd struggled with this guy, then I'd be worried. But he walked straight through him like he should have, and that's really all I got to say in it. So those are my thoughts on this. Let me know yours down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe. Of course, if you are new to the channel, let's do a Patreon link will be in the description. As always, people, I will talk to you.